Every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, walking by walking and running by running. Therefore, if you want to do something, make a habit of it. If you don't want to do that, don't, but make a habit of something else instead. The same principle is at work in our state of mind. When you get angry, you've not only experienced that evil, but you've also reinforced a bad habit, adding fuel to the fire. That is Epictetus Discourses 2.18.1-5. Hey everyone, and welcome to the I Got This podcast with Lex and MGP. My name is Lex, and I've been a personal trainer over the last 5 years. Martha started her fitness journey with me 3 years ago, and over that time, she's lost over 60 pounds and changed her entire perspective on life. Join us each and every week as we talk about our journey together, healthy lifestyle habits, and of course, the I Got This mentality. Hey everybody, and welcome back to I Got This Pod with Lex and MGP. Today we are talking about the slight edge principle. This is something that we have talked a little bit about on each episode. If you guys have not read The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, this book is a game changer in terms of mindset. It's the same thing as the 1% rule. It means every little decision that you make will make a big difference in the long run, whether that means you are choosing to work out daily or you're choosing to wake up and sit on the couch daily. You're either choosing to move in one direction or another. And those tiny little choices and decisions you make on a daily basis will make a giant, giant impact at the end of your life or in 10 years, 20 or 30 years. So we're really excited about this topic. It's something we both feel very passionate about. Again, if you guys have not read The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, this book is the first book that the company I work for, Burn Fitness, required me to read. And then it's something that we always give our clients. So my Martha, of course, we recommended when she started her fitness journey. And I continuously recommend it because it is the principle that will make or break a happy life.
I mean, honestly, it was probably one of the first nonfiction books I'd read in a while that wasn't related to education in my job. So it was definitely kind of put me on that path of reading some of these types of books. And I actually took notes on it like I was a student. So one of the things I wrote down and kind of highlighted is that you need to do the things that appear trivial, but have tremendous impact when done consistently over time. And that was kind of the overwhelming theme for me of the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you do the hard things that you don't really want to do are the things that will actually make your life so much better in the long term. Are the habits that you're doing fueling health and happiness, or are they fueling a life of things that you just really don't want, right?
Right, for sure.
And it's so funny because I know a lot of people that read, actually, tons read books, but why don't we add a self-help book that here and there? Why don't we add things that actually might challenge your mind in a positive way or build you up or make your wires connect in your brain in a way that will actually change for the positive? Now, the other thing about this book, I think a lot of people read it and they're like, I already know this and it's very repetitive. I will always pre-frame about this book or book kind of self-help books. They all seem to be a little repetitive. And when you read them, they're pretty logical. And you're like, well, I already know this.
Right.
Do you ever think that when you read books like that?
I do sometimes, or I'm like, well, of course, that's common sense, or that just seems like basic idea, maybe reframed a little bit or said a little bit differently. But I also know as a teacher that studies show that you have to hear or read or see something 24 times to have it stick. So maybe that repetition is what we need to have it stick.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I always say power through and continue to read. I think the people who write these books that make them pretty repetitive, I think they know that. They know that you need to keep reading it and you need to hear these things over and over again in different forms or in different stories for you to fully understand it, for you to fully embody it almost.
Well, it's like anything we do. We have to do repetitions, right?
Yeah.
I can't just go work out with you one time, do one deadlift and be like, woo, I'm strong.
I'm strong. Exactly.
I have to do it over and over and over again. Every week, many reps, many sets. Same thing.
Repetition takes our skill takes repetition, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's good. Just like the biggest athletes in the world, they are practicing
all the time.
All the time. All of the time.
Yeah.
So super excited about this topic. So we're going to talk about the principles in this book, and we're going to dig deep in our take on them.
For sure.
So Martha, go ahead.
Okay. So the first two principles kind of go together. The first one is show up, and the second one is be consistent. So I think you have to show up and be consistent. Things showing up at the gym, showing up for yourself, showing up for your family, right? Being consistent, knowing most people won't stick with something. You have to stick with it. And, when I was looking at this, I was thinking about a couple of stories. And one of them is Jack Canfield, who is the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. A lot of people think of motivational books or inspirational books. That is the very common one people think of, right? And so he was the creator of that Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And he was also already a professional, like motivational speaker, personal coach, etc. And he had published a book called The Success Principles. This was a business book. And he really wanted to do this chicken soup book. And so he pitched it with his co-author to over 130 different publishers, and none of them were interested. They were like, who wants to read 100 quirky, inspirational stories? And he was just not going to let it go, So after over 100 pitches, his agent even dropped him. And he was already a successful guy, but his agent's like, yeah, we're out. And so he said, you know what? I'm determined to get this book published. And he didn't give up. He was consistent with just cold calling on publishers and going out, and finally found a small independent publisher in Florida who took a chance. Well, we all know the end of the story, right? There's over 250 versions of these books, 500 million copies sold worldwide. And you think if he had not been consistent with cold calling on publishers, if he had given up, he wouldn't have these books. So talk about a lesson in perseverance, right? What if he had quit at the 129th publisher?
Right.
Where would his life be now? So really, if you have a strong vision and you have clear goals, you can't give up. You have to show up every day, and you have to be consistent.
Yeah, I do think exactly like what you said. And this is something Tim Grover says all the time. Like, it's not just showing up. This is definitely like one of those relentless quotes. It's not just showing up. It's showing up with that clear vision, with a goal in mind, with a good attitude, which is all of these, again, affect each other.
Right. Stick with it.
and do the hard things. So whether that being like starting a business, whether that be doing something that's hard for you. I recently decided to run I don't even want to say it on the podcast because like that does require me to do it.
Makes it real, huh?
It makes it real. I also am trying to stay away from saying I'm going to. I have been very trying in my own world because I'm big on I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm trying to just do it, and then you'd be like, oh my God, she did it, like, or myself, I don't like that I'm going to, but I'm running a 13.1 and I'm not generally. I called my brother and he was like, Alexis, you're not a runner. And I was like, yeah, no, I know.
I think I said that. Who winked you into that?
I know my older brother and his wife did. And I'm excited to do something that's really, really hard for me. Running is not my forte. My hips, and my body is not built like a long distance runners, but I'm excited to do something that's hard for me. So I'm going to keep showing up, but I could show up every week and do my 3 and do my 3 and do my 5 and 7 miles. If I do them in a bad attitude, it could be really painful.
Correct.
Or I could do it with the goal in mind. Like, I'm going to do something that's really, really hard for me and push myself to do it because I have a goal in mind. I'm going to do this hard thing. I'm just going to do it. And I think when you have that goal in the mind of let's build your life resume,
right,
then these things become easier, and they're easier to do when you have that clear, concise goal when you show up. So showing up is part one, but it's not the whole thing.
No, that's just the first principle.
Anybody can show up, right?
Yep. Well, but that's, a lot of people don't. So that's the first hurdle.
You're so right.
And then being consistent. That's the next big hurdle. Like I said, a lot of people won't stick with something.
Yes.
They might say, oh, it sounds great on paper to run a half marathon.
Right.
But you got to be consistent and train. You can't just show up the day of and hope for the best.
I know, that would be horrifying.
Unless the sag wagon's following you. Yeah.
We're here. Let's go. Yeah, that's a great way to get
somebody in this room, maybe both of us, might have ran a 5K last year without preparing. And that was painful, wasn't it, for a week after?
Wow, that was so tough. That was like horrible.
So we learned. Yeah, we could do it, but we learned that that's not the best approach.
Exactly. Stay consistent, train, and be consistent.
And now we're running consistently, whether we want to or not. not. Which brings me to the third principle, is that you can choose to have a good attitude about something. Attitude is a choice.
I love that one. Attitude is the best, or what is it? Gratitude is the best attitude, but attitude is a choice, 100%.
And I truly believe that.
Tell me more about that.
Well, people, you'll be like, oh, why do you, I've had people say to me, you always have such a good attitude. I'm like, I choose to. There's days I don't feel like having a good attitude about something, but you have to put your mind to it. You have to decide, you know what? Yes, I have to get up early and go to work. But guess what? I get to get up early and go to work. There's a difference there.
Yeah.
Or I've even said this to my students. They're like, oh, math. I'm like, hey, yay, math. It's all about attitude when you get in there.
Have you heard of the term toxic positivity?
Oh, gosh. That's like the theme in teaching right now.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, how is it in teaching? I'm curious.
Right now, after the pandemic, there was a lot of people realized how much teachers do for their students. And during the pandemic, we were kind of heroes. And now it's gone back kind of a little bit the other way, unfortunately, just public opinion. But they're like, oh, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing this. Oh, but by the way, great job.
That's funny.
And so it feels almost kind of toxic. Or make sure you're taking care of yourself, that whole self-care thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess what I'm referring to is when you show up, you could fake positivity,
for sure.
come off as like toxic. Like, why are you forcing this positivity on us if it's
fake
not
it till
real?
you make it.
Right. But I do believe in a form of, I hate to say this, like I do believe in fake positivity, toxic, I'm going to pretend that this is the best thing I did. And eventually, or like the funnest thing I've ever done. And eventually I'm actually going to embody that. So maybe
I love running.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I have like, when I'm doing this running now, I'm like, I'm repeatedly thinking certain thoughts to make me feel like I can do this. I can do hard things. Like I'm good at hard things. I'm powerful. This is what I do. I do hard things. And when I continuously say those things, I truly believe them. So I guess less along the lines of like what you were saying with toxic. I mean, there is toxic positivity in a lot of certain work environments and like that type of thing. And in, relationships. However, like I do believe if you show up and you don't actually have a good attitude, like I did not want to wake up and teach this morning on a Sunday morning. It's like not what I wanted to do, but I showed up and I was like, you know what? I like this class. I'm going to do the best that I can at it. And when you force your brain to be like, okay, I'm going to like pretend, you can create this like a facade of, okay, even though I'm faking it, you will eventually make it.
Exactly.
Kind of. So even if you don't like it, you can decide to fake it till you make it. And it will turn into something. I guarantee it. It will. You got to do it on a basis of not like sarcasm, not like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And honestly, that's one of the first things we have, meet the teacher night with the parents. And it's always like the second week of school. And when the parents come in, they're always like, oh, math. Like when they come into my room, I'm like, I'm not a vampire. And that's the one thing I always say to the parents.
Yeah.
Whether or not you were a math person, and some of the parents are engineers and they like math or whatever, but a lot of them are always like, oh, I was always bad at math, or my kid's going to be bad at math because I was bad at math. And I'm like, math is not genetic. And please don't tell them that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. I need them to have a good attitude. If they believe they can learn this, they can learn this. Yeah. So I need you to assist me with them having a good attitude towards upper level math.
You realize like how important math is in your daily life.
And your attitude toward learning something.
Yeah.
People think certain topics are hard. Yeah. And maybe they are. Absolutely. I'm not discounting that, but anyone can learn. It might just be a different pace. So don't tell them they can't do it, because give them that good attitude.
I love that. That's so true. In every facet of life, and any skill that you want to learn, and anything that you feel like you want to attack. So
right.
That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, give me the next one.
All right. So the next point I had is that you have to be committed for a long period of time. Yes. This one was hard for me. We can go back to the fitness journey a little bit, but you think because you see these things on TV, you see a Biggest Loser where they lose all this weight in 10 weeks or whatever. Well, granted, they don't keep it off. We've all come to term, or you can drink these magic shakes and you'll be skinny in a month or whatever it is. So the long haul, you have to be committed for a long period of time. This is not something that's going to be instant. This is not something that's finite. This is an ongoing process. This is forever. basically for me now.
Yeah. And I think that's in all facets for sure. I had a gentleman say to me, doesn't train consistently, doesn't work out, hasn't worked out consistently in 20 or 30 years. He's like, Alexis, can you get me to do a pull-up in 6 months, like 5 or 6 pull-ups? I said, there is no way in hell I'll be able to help you do that in 6 months. Because, well, if your commitment level was high, yes, I could. But no, it's going to take you 3 years. And I was very realistic with that. He didn't like to hear it. And
Sure.
I said, I don't really care what you like to hear. This is the reality of it. Hard things take a long time. They just do. Hard things take a long time.
Right.
Nothing great was built overnight. And I think that's so true. Like even in terms of our career, just like we said a few weeks ago on episodes, people in my generation career hop or even either job hop is different than career hopping.
Correct.
I think career hop, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. You're not going to end up being really, really good at something if you don't invest 10, 15, 20 years trying to be the best at something. So whether that is fitness, you got to invest a long time to get really good, to be a pro at it, to get your, like, if you invested 25 years in being unhealthy, guess what? It's going to take you, I like to say half that time, at least. What's half of 25?
12 and a half.
12 and a half years to get to where you truly want to be. And yeah, it seems like a long time.
Okay, so I'm only 4 years in. I got time.
You got plenty of time. Think about how much progress you've made in 4 years.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And it seems like a long period of time. But I guess when you look at a lifespan, no.
Truly.
Right.
What is 4 out of,
100, because I'm going to be 100.
Yes.
4%.
Yes. Not giving your age. Sorry.
Everybody knows. It's not a secret. I don't care.
No, but like,
I'm proud of it, damn it.
What is 4 years? Like, it's not that long. Or if you want to say it is a long time, I guess, like, it's whatever your perspective is, but nothing great was built overnight.
No. For sure. Yeah. So that's one. Now that also brings us though, you have to be committed for that long period of time, which is difficult, right? But you also have to have a faith and a burning desire, right? So when adversity hits, this is what's going to keep us motivated, or at least keep us on the path or disciplined. Motivation kind of wanes too, as we know, but you have to have that burning desire for that end goal. So you don't give up.
Burning desire is something I don't think a lot of people truly understand. And it's not something I even really understood for quite some time. Burning desire is not just I want. Burning desire means every single day I'm working towards a larger goal. Every single day I'm working towards this impact, this vision of either myself or how I'm impacting society in this exact way. We know the story of Thomas Edison. His burning desire was stronger than anybody's really that I see on a day-to-day basis now. And you can feel that when you see them online. You can feel that when you talk to them in person about how passionate they are about what they're preaching or what they're working towards. And I think burning desire is truly not something that is common anymore.
No. Instant gratification, instant fix, not willing to put in the time, not willing to be consistent. It's just not there as much, or maybe those values aren't as important to a lot of people anymore, which is unfortunate.
Or I think they're just shoved in books like this. They're like shoved down there. This is these old principles, these old thoughts that are thousands. What is this?
The Stoics, yeah, they're from 1,000 years ago.
1,000 years ago.
But they hold true.
Yes. And it's crazy how strong they hold it. I'm sure there's a few of us who have this burning desire to do something great. Or not even great, or just, to do something. And I'm sure it's in a lot of us. But I think you need all of these aspects to get where you want to go. And if you don't have the enthusiasm and the excitement for whatever that thing is, it's just not going to carry you on the days that are bad, because we all have bad days. You're not going to avoid a bad day. I'm tired today, honestly. I am. But I know that there's a bigger reason. And sometimes you don't even know what that bigger reason is. Like sometimes we do this and I'm like, I don't remember really why we're doing this, but I know, like, I have a burning desire inside of me. I'm like, wait, there's a bigger reason. Like, there's a reason we're doing this, and I'm not going to stop doing it, even on the days that I don't feel like it.
Something's around the corner, whether we can see it or not.
Exactly. Like,
Yes.
we are 3 feet from gold, even if we can see it or not.
Right, for sure. So that's another one. And exactly, when adversity hits, this is what's going to keep us pushing.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and again, if you don't know that why, that's okay. Something in your gut will tell you whether the thing you're doing is pushing you in the right direction or not. Listen to that feeling. It's there.
Are you on the right path or not? Yes. Even if you can't see the end of the path.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So the next principle, and this one made me think of Tim Grover, who we both love, his books, and Relentless or Winning. It's be willing to pay the price, meaning be uncomfortable now, or are you going to be uncomfortable later? And when I thought about this and took these notes from the book, I was like, right away, I thought about reading his books, two totally different books, and really totally different tone from the author, right? But this one particular point sounded very familiar. So when you think about this, being uncomfortable now or be uncomfortable later, I started thinking about how when I first started my fitness journey at work, and I'm sure a lot of you have this situation at work where people are bringing in treats all the time. It's somebody's birthday, I swear, every single day. There's birthday cake or pizza or, like a lot of times bosses, that's kind of their love language for their staff. They'll bring in donuts or bagels or whatever. And so I started to not participate in some of those foods. That doesn't mean I wouldn't go to the lunchroom or go and, hang out with my colleagues, but people started noticing, oh, you're not eating cake today. Oh, you're not. I'm like, why do you care? But it was a little uncomfortable or awkward at first because I didn't want to be like, I'm on a diet because I didn't really consider it a diet. I was just trying to make different choices. But it was uncomfortable because some people would notice because that wasn't how they knew me before. Right. I used to always be like first in line to cut the cake. I don't know. Yeah. And I don't even like cake. So if you think about this, I was uncomfortable then, but I'm not uncomfortable now. But if I had just been like, fine, I'll eat the cake so they don't say anything, I'd still be uncomfortable. I'd still be carrying those 50 pounds on me. I would still be, dealing with all those things. Now everyone's just like, oh, it's Martha. She doesn't eat cake anymore. So it's one of those, be uncomfortable now or be uncomfortable later. And you have to decide, are you willing to pay the price now for the rewards later? At
our facility, there are all these like super motivational quotes. And we had this old facility back in Livonia, and inside with this giant, it reminded me of a sports training room. We had this giant locker room for all the trainers at the end. So you would walk in, there are all these lockers, and they were really large. If you were to think of like a basketball like locker room, you would truly feel like it when you were in there. And it was this one long hallway, and at the end of the long hallway, there was this giant photo by Iconic. If you guys don't know that canvas brand, art brand, IKONICK. Super cool stuff. But it did say this, and it motivated me so much. Don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion. That's a quote by Muhammad Ali. And I remember walking in on a day-to-day basis thinking, if I don't quit, this will pay off. If I don't quit on the days that I'm tired, I'm dragging, I don't feel like dealing with people, I am going to, it will pay off. And that attitude makes such a big difference in the long term. So think about those stars, those champions. Think about the Kobe Bryants that trained 4 times a day on 6 hours of sleep, that were making the truest, biggest impact on society. The champions, like the athletes, the inventors, like freaking Elon Musk. These people do the hard work on the days that they don't feel like it. They are dragged, dealing with, even shit talked about them on a daily basis. And they could give up and quit and say, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore, but they choose not to. So whether your impact is small or large, whether your day-to-day things feel like they're not making a big difference, they are. It's just doing the hard thing makes such a big difference. Getting up for your workout makes such a big difference. Saying no because you want to eat well or sleep and get proper sleep and take care of yourself. They all make such a big difference, for sure.
Well, yeah, I know you've said this to me many times. Do you want to do the hard thing now or later? But you're doing the hard thing.
True.
Right?
The hard thing will come.
The hard thing will come. So you can do the hard thing now, which is work out and get in shape so you have an easier life going forward. Or you can do the easy thing now, like sit on the couch and eat snack food, but you're going to have a hard life later when you're not in shape.
Exactly.
And you've said that to me probably I couldn't even tell you how many times. So.
It's true.
Right.
Choose hard decisions equals easy life.
Mm-hmm.
Easy life equals hard decisions.
Right.
Wait, I'm sorry. No, it's let me restate that. It's hard decisions equals easy life. Easy decisions equal hard life. Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's what it is. It's
yeah.
the truth. So I like that one a lot. Habits.
I don't know if that's your quote or whatever, but I know you've said it to me many times.
I think I was thinking about this recently, actually. I was talking to somebody about my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, where do you get all these things? So I was like, I don't know, all these quotes are things that I've read or heard from my surroundings, like my mentors, my coaches, my team.
Sure.
And, I think the people you surround yourself with are who you become. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that was mine. I don't know if I heard that from somewhere, but it feels true to me. It feels true to what I preach anyways.
Correct.
So it's funny. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know where it came from, but I truly believe it and I live it. So
I just say it's a Lexism.
Thanks. I appreciate that. All right, what's the next one?
So this is kind of the final one. And this one really, really hits home with me. What you do when no one is watching, what are you doing, even if you're not in the mood? That's integrity. The definition of integrity. What are you doing when no one is watching?
That's I think that's the hardest for all of us to really face. I think that's a really, truly hard one for us to face. My ego likes to show off. My ego likes to be a hard worker. My ego likes to be the in shape one. So if you're watching me work out, you would see me work hard, but am I really working when you're not looking? And I think that's why this training for this race is really hard for me. Nobody's watching me run.
Yeah.
I actually had to
Well, are you going to be uncomfortable now or later, right?
And I think it's okay. Well, I think realizing like that is when nobody's watching is truly who you are. And when you start to think about what you're doing when nobody's watching, you can either be disgusted or proud of yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to face. I really do. I think that's a hard one for me. I do. I really think so. I think that's a really hard one for me to face. But I think it's who you really are.
Yeah. It's your integrity. I mean, and that is big.
It's heavy.
Yeah. It's heavy.
So I think that's something that you kind of have to reflect on.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? No, it's deep. It's heavy. I'm curious. Like when you're sitting alone in your car, what are you thinking about? The thoughts in your head are truly who you are. The actions of doing good or doing poorly upon others. In terms of business, yes. In terms of training, are you slacking? Are you not? In terms of eating, guess what? Nobody's watching you at night when you're in the kitchen. You could eat like crap, but guess what? Only you will know that, right?
Right.
But the results will be there.
Absolutely.
It's what you do behind closed doors. The results are still show for it.
Yeah.
Outwardly.
Well, and we, your clients and me being one of them, we take pictures of what we eat and send it to you, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm always technically watching.
Kind of, but this is where I'm going with this. I've been out before and I'm like, someone's like, oh, would you like this? And I'm like, I would, but then I have to take a picture and send it to Alexis. And it's a whole thing. They're like, well, just don't take a picture. I'm like, well, my body's still going to know if I ate it. I mean, so what's the point? I mean, there's no, just because I didn't show you, I mean, but I do. So, but that's been said to me many times. Why just don't show her? Just do it anyway. Just sneak around. But my integrity is like, well, if I'm cheating, which I wouldn't even call it cheating, but if I'm going off path, let's say, with something, I'm still going to send you a picture and we're still going to talk about it. And sometimes you're like, well, good for you. Have fun once in a while. Right. But that's an integrity thing too, a little bit there.
It is. It's like, okay, well, you're not just lying to me, you're lying to yourself.
Correct.
And you're going to sit down with me in a few months and be like, why am I not seeing results? And it's not just that one time you didn't take a picture, I'm not saying you, but
no, then it becomes a habit.
Always comes back to habits, isn't that great?
Right.
You know what the other thing is? I do want to kind of bring this up. We were talking a few months ago about like Slytherin versus Gryffindor versus Harry Potter.
Right.
And I think it's good to know who you are at your core. Like, I think, I'm not saying like I'm a slimy person. I just know, no, I don't think I'm a bad person. I have more like Slytherin traits and more selfish traits, right?
I think it's more determination kind of.
You think so? I don't know. I think
I don't think you'd be a Malfoy.
I think I have more selfish traits, and I think there's nothing wrong with that because I'm aware of those traits. I'm aware of behind closed doors, I'm going to pick the thing that's best for me. In sometimes, like, I'm a trainer, like, I want you to get results for me because I'm the trainer that gets results, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with being aware of who you are as a person. It doesn't have to come off like you're the most altruistic person.
Oh, no.
Does good and helps everyone that needs help. Like, I'm aware that I'm a little bit more selfish, but I'm aware of that, and I can still be good behind closed doors and say, okay, if I tend to be a more selfish person, I'm not going to go out here and like F a lot of people over.
Right.
I think being aware of who you are is a very, very important thing behind those closed doors. And being a bad person versus being a more selfish person or a more, I don't know what those traits are. I think when they say Slytherin, it comes off as like an evil person.
Right.
It's not.
You're not trying to kill someone.
No.
Well, I don't know. She had me running in the parking lot the other day, but that's.
No. But what I'm saying is that, like, the person you are behind closed doors matter, and you have a decision to make. Like, are you going to do what's right, even though it might be hard for you to do? Even though for some people it's easier to do the right thing, and some people it's harder to do the right thing because some people are more selfish or don't think automatically about the person next to them or the person sitting across from them. And I think that's important too. So it's a heavier topic as well. It is a heavy topic. So I think that's important. I think that's why when the doors are closed or when nobody's watching, I'm aware of who I am, so I'm able to make a harder decision. So that's my heavy topic. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that one.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I did take away from this book, and I did write down as well, is you can't change where you are overnight. You have to make these small changes, right? So you can't change where you are overnight. Couldn't walk into the gym that first day and be like, I want to be, 50 pounds lighter. It's not going to happen overnight, right? But you can change the direction you're headed overnight. So every day you can make that one small change to change your direction and get to where you want to be.
I love that.
And that's what we have to talk about.
That's what matters.
That's what matters.
What direction you're going. This is the same as the 1% rule. 1% better every single day for 30 days. You'll be 30% better at the end of the month, or 0.5% better.
Right.
That's tremendous.
Any step forward takes you closer to the goal.
Yeah. So why are we rushing? Why are we competing with people who are pretending to be where they may or may not be? Who knows? Right. We are what we repeatedly do, Aristotle said. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. The Stoics add to that we are a product of our thoughts, such as your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind. Marcus Aurelius put it. That is from the Daily Stoic, written by Ryan Holiday.
And that quote's got to be 1,000 years old, but holds true. I got this. Hey guys, thanks for listening this week. Please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. For more I Got This content, please make sure to follow, like, and share on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or you can always go to our website, igotThisPod.com, for more info. As always, thanks for listening. See you next Monday.